This that new baby? Hey, yo, you would've caught the new G550? Oh, boy. Smell of newness. Fresh mahogany.
Do you think Cassie Ventura was a victim or partner in this?
$60 million and a trail of claims. Diddy's private jet wasn't just a symbol of luxury, it's now at the center of a jaw-dropping scandal. What were the startling accusations that brought federal agents to his hangar? And how does this story turn when the handcuffs come out? Let's break it down step by step.
Road again. This that new baby? Hey, yo, you would've caught the new G550? Oh, boy. Are you crazy? Happy birthday to you. Merry Christmas. My first time in this thing.
It's gonna be better once some stuff is swapped.
Smell of newness. Fresh mahogany. Hey, yo, check it out. For inspirational and motivational uses only, I'm going to take me a nap. I'll see y'all in the A, man. What up, morning?
Good morning, send nothing but love and positive vibrations your way. Love.
Yo, we on our way to make some historical, beautiful, much needed soul to the soul capital of the world, ATL. We are on our way, and we bring nothing but love and positive vibes and smash hit motherfucking records. Love is in the building, and I'm taking no shorts. Here's to us, to us, to us, to us. Love, 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 love.
What is a freak off? The freak off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism.
He had everything to do with what she was wearing. She said she would buy outfits from sex shops and see which one he wanted her to wear. And then inside the actual hotel rooms, their apartments where the freak offs took place, she said that Combs was in charge of lighting. It began with candles. It then moved to studio lighting.
They might say she's lying, but that's going to be a little hard to do with that.
Star witness taking the stand, but it was more than that. It was how Cassie took that stand. You could hear a pin drop when those doors opened, and a visibly pregnant Cassie Ventura walking past a man she had not seen in 6.5 years. A man she says violently abused her for a decade. A man the prosecution said trafficked her. Well, she sat across from him, placed her overcoat behind her, turning her body slightly toward the jury, rubbing her pregnant belly throughout her testimony. Diddy, well, he was more fidgety than he was the day before. He was passing notes. He pushed himself away from the defense table and largely sat like that. They never seemed to make eye contact with one another, not even after she was crying about having loved him once and planning and participating in these freak-off sex parties because she feared him and she wanted to make him happy, but feeling worthless, feeling disgusting because she didn't want to do it. Now, with each moment, the testimony became more and more graphic. Her delivery, though, it never changed. It was matter of fact, steady, calm. At times, she was even...
Diddy's $60 million private plane appears to be the pinnacle of prestige with its sleek, custom interiors, hand-woven carpets, glossy wood finishes, and ambient lighting that softly illuminates the leather seats. The ultra-elite lie untouchably above it all, a place where bargains are made, vacations are started, and power moves are planned in the skies. But what if that picture was concealing something, as new accusations indicate? Investigators suspect that this jet may have served as a vehicle for something much darker than merely opulence. Federal authorities believe that it was used to take women to what have been called freak-offs, a word purportedly used to describe exclusive high-security parties with adult themes. The legality of these events is not at dispute. Rather, what is at issue are the claimed methods of these women's arrival and their roles at these events. Prompted major concerns about the jet's private status, its capacity to avoid most of the scrutiny that commercial aircraft encounter, and the possibility that Diddy's enormous influence may have prevented this from being discovered for years, according to authorities, allegedly found concerning trends in the aircraft's flight logs that indicated recurrent visits to particular sites that corresponded with what were characterized as private parties. According to reports, there were noticeable differences, where the number allegedly highlighted the planes for federal attention on many occasions, when the number of passengers recorded and those who actually boarded didn't match. In one case, a manifest purportedly had only 3 names, but according to people familiar with the investigation, up to 10 people were spotted boarding the aircraft that day. Private jets frequently function in a secrecy bubble, which contributes to their appeal. There is no TSA queue, public passenger lists, and frequently no trace of who exactly enters and exits are examples of privacy that comes at a high cost, and, ironically, creates the ideal environment for eliminating paper trails. Evidence that investigators started dissecting for Diddy, a man whose money feeds his exaggerated persona. As these accusations surface, it's not just about what occurs in the sky, it's also about what this jet represents. The notion that this aircraft flew ladies with dubious consent or purpose is not only harmful, but also potentially career-ending, as the glitzy emblem of success and luxury now runs the risk of turning into a tangible representation of scandal. There are many issues surrounding this jet, but one in particular. Might its opulent interiors be concealing years of unimaginable exploitation? This is not only a possible crime scene, but also a powerful metaphor for unbridled power. And while the public swiftly links Diddy's name to responsibility, and investigators are still working to connect the dots, which is where the search for answers and the raid enters, it seemed like a scenario from a Hollywood movie when federal officials stormed into the private hangar, a tension-filled curtain hanging over the room as they moved deliberately to seize Diddy's valuable $60 million.
But is that what he's doing? Is he running an entertainment and fashion industry, or is he running essentially a criminal organization?
By the way, we have a poll up right now. You can participate in it. Do you think Cassie Ventura was a victim or partner in this? Ready for this? 82%, well, this doesn't make sense. 82% say yes. I don't know if that's yes to, I think we need clarification. 82% say victim or partner. We'll get a clarification on that.
By the way,
right now.
But that's my answer to that question.
Oh, okay. 82% say victim. 82% say victim. Maybe based on we're reporting on the testimony right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think she is a victim if the allegations are true, but also she is involved in some of the criminal I mean, she's getting those prostitutes, right? She's making payments to them, allegedly. She's having them come, so she's involved in some of the alleged criminal activity. And that's an interesting point that wouldn't just apply to her. Other people in his orbit might be some combination of victim and co-conspirator.
But you know what? That video changes everything, because the argument would be, what do you think happens if she says no?
Yeah.
What do you think happens if she says, I'm not in the mood for a freak off tonight. I'm not going to pay the dancer.
I'll be sure he came out saying that Kim Porter death needs to be looked into.
I think that Al being his ex-wife, he have every right knowing about the stuff that came out about Diddy and what he was doing. You understand what he has done in the past, and people have overlooked it. By him coming out and saying that he hoped that he could get her case reopened. There was a guy called John Paperwork, the Paperwork Party. They would put in an open petition to get Kim's case reopened. You understand what I'm saying? So I'll be sure doing this is showing that, you know, he still got love for Quincy's mother. He still want to find out the truth, because allegedly Kim was fined the day before and the day of her death, and then now she found in the bed dead from pneumonia. That just don't sound right, bro. That don't sound right at all.
So you feel the same way about her death being suspect?
I don't think nobody in America think it's nothing suspicious about Kim's death, bro. If you are rich like that, you could, you know, Kim had, I think a net worth of like, what, 12 million a year or something like that? Kim could have called any doctor to come over and look at her. If she was that bad, you know, she could have called an ambulance or something like that. Everything is suspicious about her death, bro. And I don't think an autopsy was done on her. And if it was a half job.
You personally, right? What do you think happened to Kim Porter?
If I say something personal, bro, and my belief, and I put it on to the public, then I might be like,
wasn't a regular check for mechanical issues or paperwork. Instead, the agents arrived with search warrants and suspicions that the aeroplane, which had become a mainstay of his opulent lifestyle, was tied up. Almost instantly, it became evident what they were searching for: records, documentation, anything that could link the plane to claims of taking women to exclusive freak-off parties. According to people acquainted with the investigation, the ladies at the center of these events were frequently bound by obligations, and the parties were invitation-only affairs with high-profile visitors and extreme secrecy. Law enforcement had been assembling this case for months through interviews with close contacts, digital surveillance, and following the jet's movements because it muddled the lines of consent, raising concerns about coercion and trafficking. Flight patterns showed a series of locations that matched rumors about these freak-offs, with stops at resorts and private estates that are known to host A-list guests attracting the most attention. Investigators allegedly linked Diddy's private plane to these events and the attendees, citing flight logs that revealed an odd tale of brief visits to places that didn't match passenger counts. That changed in ways that investigators thought suspicious as agents examined the jet and insider reports became more vocal, claiming that certain flights were connected to gatherings where ladies who were flown in from different law enforcement apparently discovered supporting evidence in the form of digital communications between jet staff and the crew, which included handwritten notes outlining strange manifests and guest drop-offs, and outside parties engaged in planning these events. From emails to texts, the story investigators were crafting became more clear. And then came the confrontational moment when Diddy was allegedly, when presented with the federal findings, his initial response was described as blank-looking in silence as the accusations started to sink in, according to law enforcement sources. The confrontation allegedly contained the reference of, while several witnesses assert he denied knowledge of any wrongdoing, Did's initial lack of knowledge was contradicted by his jet manifest records and repeated links to flights that terminated in upscale resorts with high-profile guest lists. The search didn't stop with the jet. According to reports, the agents had already started discovering a bigger network connected to these charges. This answer left many wondering whether this was shock defiance or deliberate quiet. With Diddy currently under federal examination, emphasis is now focused on determining who else might be implicated in the scandal, as a long list of names of organizers, passengers, and allies is reportedly coming to light, making the inquiry more difficult by the hour. The next question is how deep this goes given the growing web of accusations. Interview 1309-1444. What started as inquiries about Diddy's $60 million plane has grown into a far more extensive inquiry, and federal authorities are currently examining a network and a complex web of. The plane is no longer the only focus. It's a gateway to deeper levels, and every finding, including coworkers, employees, and even other celebrities who may have had a direct or indirect role in these alleged activities.
Let's go.
Lucien Granger has been a very powerful figure for a very long time. Started as with a totally different name, by the way. I don't trust,
you're the one that put me on that rabbit hole.
Don't trust men that change their names, least of all 3 times, okay? A family that goes from Goldstein to G to Grange doesn't make sense to me. And you have him at the top of the food chain, heavily implied by Little Rod that they were allowing this to go on to get blackmail on certain people, and they just disappear him.
And I mean,
what's the logic here?
It's
no
understandable.
Evidence, there's tapes. Little Rod said there's nothing but tapes.
Tapes of everything.
And that Diddy was taping the people that were coming as well.
Yep. Yeah.
When he's mentioning the Little Rod lawsuit as the fixer, to show you how extreme what he's being accused of is essentially he's the guy you call if you shoot somebody.
Yeah.
He intimates this scene in the lawsuit, Little Rod, where Diddy allegedly and his son allegedly shoot some guy in a bathroom. Little Rod is as this guy is bleeding out, cleaning up, trying to help this guy. He's very close or just outside of the bathroom. Little Rod might have been in the bathroom. And he knows that after Diddy and his son come up and shoot this guy, he's trying to apply pressure to the wound. And they know that you have to call this guy, and he'll get the correct person over at LAPD to come over, and they'll tell a lie. And he says that the next day the press ran a story that there was a drive-by shooting. He's like, that's not what happened at all. And it made me really think about the book Chaos that so many people on my podcast have listened to and watched. I mean, I have listened to, and it's describing a corrupt LAPD with feds that are involved and know how to disappear certain things. And we know that to be factually true based on the Charles Manson murders. So this makes me super...
Activities keep strengthening the case, according to individuals close to the inquiry, who assert that several business colleagues connected to Diddy's operations might have helped arrange these purported freak-off flights. These include investigators are apparently relying largely on digital evidence, including emails, texts, and financial documents, to reconstruct who made travel or event arrangements for the ladies. Claims of being transported on these journeys are further supported by the communications officer's assertions that meticulous preparation is necessary to protect privacy and evade detection. Furthermore, there have been claims made against other well-known people who may have participated in these private events and perhaps utilized the jet themselves. However, no specific identities have been made public as the. Although the inquiry is still underway, industry rumors indicate that this issue may have far-reaching effects outside of Diddy's inner circle. Regular attendees of similar events and recipients of the jet's alleged discretionary travel are under investigation. The question is not only who was aware of these operations, but also who made them feasible. Naturally, money is a major factor in the investigation, and federal officials are allegedly analyzing financial transactions related to the jet's operation, such as maintenance costs and payments to the pilot and crew. They are tracking the money's movement, looking into payments made to people who are allegedly associated with these events, and keeping an eye out for indications of investigators believe that if this network of suspected exploitation exists, it left a trail of evidence in the form of unlawful activities like unregistered transfers or odd spending patterns connected to the flights. More than a dozen persons are reportedly being investigated, according to bank records and logistical correspondence, though that number is anticipated to increase. Their possible roles range from assisting arrange the flights to enable the events that purport to transform this plane into more than just a means of transportation. What's coming out isn't just a tale about a single star. It seems to be revealing more, addressing a broader culture that flourishes in the haze of riches, celebrity, and unfettered seclusion. An industry insider, speaking anonymously, put the why problem plainly. When these men fly private, they behave as though there are no regulations, observing them so they can do as they please. If Diddy's case is real, it could bring a unique spotlight to these obscure areas of the entertainment industry. How far will that spotlight go? And how many people might join him if others are implicated? As these details develop, Diddy's incarceration is already giving rise to other scandals. Diddy's actions behind bars depict a guy alternating between controlled calmness and underlying fury. According to people close to the case, Diddy appeared anxious during processing, keeping his typically dominant appearance restrained. Though, officials have not confirmed these rumors. Rumors from the facility said that he has been avoiding contact with most of the other inmates and keeping mostly to himself. The thought of a previously untouchable figure now being secluded in detention and shorn of his authority enthralled the world. But
Do you know Sean Combs?
Puff Daddy?
Yeah.
P. Diddy, whatever you call himself. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he's part of what's called the Boule. The Boule is a branch of the Illuminati.
Okay.
It's the black people. I had a settlement with Sean, okay? And he belongs to that agenda. That's why he's so famous. They land all the contracts. It's these attorneys. Basically, he would masturbate and tell me what to do with Cassie. I had like 15 encounters, and I heard lots of business. Because what they would do is Sean talks a lot on the phone and on the TV with speakers and stuff, and I'll be in the...
I've never really quite understood why Diddy's fame has lasted this long, why he is so wealthy, how he's doing all of these extravagant things. Like, genuinely, I've never really quite understood it. And it's just interesting because when three things that seem so crazy end up fact-checking true, he also mentioned in this, we didn't show this clip, but he mentions pink cocaine.
Yeah.
At that time, no one knew what he was talking about. Suddenly, Lil Rod's lawsuit is speaking about that exact same drug that he's saying is a combination of all sorts of drugs like MDMA and cocaine. And again, all of this is allegedly, but he says that essentially that's what Diddy is giving out at these parties that has people that is so high, rather. And then another piece of this, which we didn't show, which he said at that time in terms of saving Trump, was he says that he saw in the Illuminati card deck that they were going to try to assassinate Trump. Again, what year was this that Jonathan Odie was arrested?
That was 2018.
And we can also now confirm that he was indeed a sex slave to Cassie and Diddy because he's testifying at this trial.
Acclimating to life in detention involves more than just the solitary confinement of power. It also involves survival. According to sources, Diddy may be depending more than ever on his legal staff, with some of the greatest attorneys money can buy, allegedly, constructing a defense meant to dismantle the federal case against him. Their alleged approach entails contesting the validity of the jet's evidence, casting doubt on the reliability of witnesses, and, according to some rumors, even advancing the claim that whether that argument will stand up behind the scenes, is still unknown. But Diddy's legal team is not only disputing the accusations, they are also trying to shape the story, according to the statement. The alleged wrongdoing involving the jet was committed without Diddy's direct knowledge. Although they are aggressively interacting with media outlets to keep the issue framed as an abuse of federal power rather than personal misconduct, the debate inside the jail takes a different turn, with unverified reports indicating that Diddy and accounts of Diddy's encounters with law enforcement following his arrest have added fresh dimensions to the story of the police who were present, while his interactions with facility staff on minor issues have reinforced the tension and uneasiness that seems to follow him after his arrest, characterized him as generally cooperative, but pointed up instances of obvious annoyance when asked about certain flights and passengers connected to the accusations, some of whom allege he made comments that may be taken as contemptuous of the matter. Regardless of whether they were deliberate or a result of the stress is yet unknown. Similarly, reports of heated exchanges with other prisoners, especially those who knew him, indicate that his celebrity hasn't transferred well to this very different setting. Social media conversations have been sparked by the media frenzy around Diddy's arrest, which has included constant images of him in handcuffs, along with court sketches and leaked case facts. For some, this is a shocking example of responsibility that is well-deserved. But for others, the responses are as divided as Diddy's own public image, as an entrepreneur hailed for creating a billion-dollar legacy, now confronted with charges that may destroy it, and it's perceived as another case of a well-known person being singled out for attention only for his fame. As the days go by, all attention turns to how much this battle will cost him. His brand, which was once associated with money, freedom, and influence, now runs the risk of becoming permanently linked to scandal, leaving his legacy in jeopardy. The only important question that remains is, Diddy? Not only is this case about one man, but it's a reflection of something larger. What's left to discover might shatter even more foundations. Is he preparing for the struggle of his life? Or is the foundation of his empire already beginning to fall apart? It's nearly impossible to ignore the obscene specifics when scandals like this make headlines. But beyond them lies a far larger tale about power secrecy and the uncontrolled privileges enjoyed by the wealthy elite, Diddy's. Situation is more than just a media bombshell. It's a mirror reflecting the more sinister realities of influence and celebrity, bringing us to a discussion about industry accountability. The entertainment industry has long been praised and criticized for its immunity from consequences due to its historical protection by riches and prestige. Celebrities work in an environment where regulations appear to be negotiable and are defended by legal teams. Private jets are an ideal tool in this equation, providing a controlled environment while avoiding the regulatory monitoring of public relations specialists and private access that keeps the outside world neatly at arm's length. There's a reason the public is interested in stories about commercial travel, and this controversy upends the foundation of that meticulously maintained seclusion by raising the
interview that Tupac is still alive
Yeah.
and he's in Cuba.
Drops it out of nowhere.
And that's been a major conspiracy that Tupac's still alive. I've never looked into that one. I just
Yeah,
want to
I
be very
haven't
clear. But because I'm going back and I'm thinking it's just strange that everything this man said, or too much of what he said, has fact-checked true, which seems so bizarre. That another very bizarre claim he made, that Tupac's alive is in Cuba, and he's just like chilling and saying that, it just kind of gets you thinking about
all sorts of other things.
What is reality?
All sorts of other things.
What is reality?
I also, while we're on the Black Boule thing, that Jonathan
Could you
Audi
describe, by
brings
the
up
way,
the Black
because when
Boule.
you actually brought up the Black Boule, I had no idea what that was.
I don't know a lot about it, and I think that there's a lot of versions of it. As like, I think that it's like, you know, Vatican conspiracies go all sorts of different directions. The Jew conspiracies go all sorts of directions, and the Black Boule, I think the understanding is that it traces back to like the black nobility and one of the royal families. And LeBron James does have a gigantic back tattoo of the crest, like the symbol itself of the Black Boule. Very literally the exact image.
Well,
or it's his chest, I think. It's
yeah,
like
I think it's on his
huge.
chest. I think I saw that in your video. And
Kind of weird.
so that's interesting that he's saying he's a member of this, especially as we're now learning so much about what took place at these Diddy parties. And I want to be clear here, we can't really discuss Cassie's testimony because I try to keep this show family friendly, and I just
There's
can't.
not a single piece of that is.
That is right. I can't read anything about these transcripts. Suffice it to say, they were into just the most debased, disgusting sexual stuff that you could possibly imagine. She was very clear that she was high on drugs throughout a lot of it. I completely believe that, based on what we've learned from Little Rod and learned from other people, including this guy, Jonathan Odie, that was definitively one component of this. But it's interesting that we're talking about the idea of these people selling out the Black community on behalf of somebody else, because there are some dogs that are not barking. That had me very concerned in this case, because I read through Little Rod's lawsuit and I very much expected that the Universal execs would be brought into this, into the hearing at the very least to testify, and also the biggest person missing here.
Possibility that power may occasionally be facilitating abuse as well as delight. The thought of a person so obviously untouchable being connected to something so blatant that it blurs the boundaries of admiration and detachment is what makes this situation so compelling, not just the names involved or the startling details. Individuals to reconcile their fandom with the accusations that are being made in front of them. But it also serves to further the idea that there is always more to a story when there is celebrity. These cases are appealing because they humanize the larger-than-life while also revealing the mechanisms that maintain their status. However, what makes this case especially noteworthy is its ability to establish a precedent. Private aviation has always been a gray area when it comes to examination, restricted access and limited passenger manifests have allowed an unwatched world to thrive away from public accountability. If investigators are successful in proving these claims, it might alter how the damage from even the accusations has begun to spread as law enforcement targets the private aviation industry, with a greater emphasis on laws that could close the gaps now allowed for exploitation. For Diddy, a man whose brand depends on ambition and wealth, the damage is obvious, but he's not the only one under scrutiny. Reputations are at stake, and careers may be destroyed, depending on the outcome of the inquiry. Deeper inquiries into systematic exploitation that extends outside the music industry are being raised by the emergence of a broader network. If this proves to be more than a single instance, it could bring additional complex issues to light, power structures into the open. But the names and specifics may have changed. These scandals are not new. A 2021 study on celebrity exploitation cited dozens of identical claims connected to private parties, upscale events, and coercive travel arrangements are notable for their scope, and Diddy's pivotal role in them. The question now is whether this case leads to a societal reckoning or, like so many others, fades into the background. Headline: without long-term change and how much more is yet to be discovered if investigations are correct, this case has already shocked the public and entertainment business. Although it's unknown, this scandal may finally push us to reevaluate how power functions behind closed doors, as accusations have revealed painful truths about riches concealing accountability. Certain, Diddy's empire has changed beneath his feet, and the inquiry is still ongoing. The tale is far from finished, and as more information becomes available, more questions will surely arise about what Diddy, his circle, and the industry as a whole pay attention because this is just the start of what might be a pivotal moment in culture.